for joining me for another episode of Screw the Cubicle TV. And today's episode is a special series on interviewing a guy that I've actually been waiting to talk to since I did a talk at one of his projects called Project Getaway in Bali, which we'll talk about more in this conversation. So I want you to welcome Michael Bodekar. I hope I didn't completely massacre your last name. You can tell me if I did later on.
No, it's very good.
Is that all right? Okay. So
Yep.
Michael's the founder of Live which is a tech startup ecosystem that builds amazing businesses by providing specialist resources, business knowledge, creativity, and inspiring spaces to startups. And Michael's also a creator of this special project I just mentioned, one of my favorite projects in Bali called Project Getaway, where over a period of 30 days, 20 adventurous entrepreneurs come here, they work together, and they kind of, bounce ideas off each other and be able to have fun in this inspiring, luxurious location of Bali. And this is the idea of combining success, adventure, and a balanced lifestyle, which is, in my opinion, the only formula for success is mixing pleasure and work with our work. So thank you for joining me, Michael.
I agree. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. And I love that I'm in Bali. You just left Bali, so you get to hear, as I
was
said.
just there 2 days ago, yeah.
Yeah, you'll hear, I'm filming from my home, so you get to hear the roosters and the rain monsoon weather we currently have.
It's very good. I already feel in the Bali mode, so that's great.
Exactly. Well, first, before we get into kind of these exciting projects that you're a part of, I want to know a little bit more about kind of what got you started. So obviously you were once in corporate, you were once a 9-to-5er, and kind of what caused you to kind of remember that, wait a second, this is not where I want to be, and what caused that turn point or that leap point for you to start thinking about alternative ways to live and work, and what is that story like for you?
Yeah, I mean, so I was actually an entrepreneur before I went into the corporate world. So when I was 15, I started my first company and worked on that for like 7-8 years. And what I didn't know at that time was that I was extremely passionate, and everyone was asking me why was I working so much? And to me, it was obviously because I loved what I was doing. It was really, really great. And then later on, I thought I was missing out on this corporate world. There's a lot of people went into management consulting at that time, and so I said, okay, I got to give it a try. I stopped doing any entrepreneurship. I went into the corporate world, and I learned a ton, and I'm really happy I did it. And one of my key learnings was that I really am an entrepreneur, and that I should work with small companies. And so to answer your question, the moment I think where it really struck me was when I realized that when I was waking up in the morning, I was not really excited about going to work. It was, it was quite simple. I wasn't really looking forward to it, and that was for me a completely new feeling at that time. I honestly never felt that way in my life, and it was, for me, it was really like I felt like I hit rock bottom. It probably wasn't really that bad in reality, but I really felt like I needed to change something because I just knew how awesome it was to feel waking up every morning, being super excited about what you're about to do, working with the people you want to do, and so forth. And so at that time, and I thought it was being an entrepreneur that really was the key, but I think I've learned a lot through the years since then, which is something we could probably also dive into a bit. But very briefly, I think what I was missing really was a meaning and a purpose in what I was doing, and also working with people that are really driven, passionate, and excited about what they do, because it does really rub off on me. I mean, if I go to work and I see people, almost just falling apart and just waiting for the 5 p.m. clock to ring, it's just not really fun. And so it's not, for me at least, I realized then through the years, it's not so much about entrepreneurship or becoming an entrepreneur. It's more about working with really awesome people on exciting missions and on things that's really meaneful to you. And that may differ from everyone.
And I love that you talked about meaning and purpose, because this is exactly, what I was missing also in my corporate job, because most likely like you, I thought I had the dream because I had a 6-figure job. I was actually allowed to travel the world. I was in Zurich as well for work, and like tons of amazing European cities, like not too shabby, like going on planes and thinking, I have the dream job. But it was missing that really core piece of what I needed as a human. Nothing to do with work, nothing to do with anything else, but just this sense of like, when I wake up, I want to be proud, of something that I've impacted. And it's like kind of almost like a ripple effect of my work, And even though I was good at my job and I brought in lots of great income for me and my boss, obviously, there was just this missing piece of like, I don't really like what I'm selling. I don't really believe in the mission of his business. And kind of the third thing is that I kind of don't like being told what to do. And I think most entrepreneurs feel this, like where they're like, I want to have creative control. right? Like I want to be able to put the blood and sweat into the project and know that actually is from me. It's my gift to the world. And I think entrepreneurs in the hearts of hearts know that sometimes, that even if they don't know what they're going to create, they know for sure that they want to be the one to create it, right?
Yeah.
So when you talked about, one of the main things being important to you is people, right? Types of people you're working with, what their, what values they have, what beliefs they have about their work as well. What did you find were the people that were meant for you to work with?
That's a great question. And I think I've had the fortunate experience to explore that question a lot through Project Getaway.
Right.
Because I think one of the really unique things about Project Getaway, compared to many other similar initiatives, which we've inspired through the years, which I think is really great. But one of the things that we really try to keep at and keep improving in Project Getaway is finding like-minded people who really work well together, and every year we get to reflect on that and figure out, so what did we do well, how did we interview people in the right way, ask the right questions, and match the right people up. And what I've found is that the first key thing is that there is no right or wrong, as I see it, and I think that's also in your question. It's really up to each person to find people that are similar to you, whom you can really, I don't know, vibe with or really have a great time with. So I think it's really about finding like-minded people, and that's different from everyone to figure out whom should I work with.
Right.
So for me personally, I like smiling people a lot. I've sort of, there's sort of a few small things that I really look for, but obviously it's a really difficult thing. You cannot just analyze a person by looking at their smile.
Right.
So what I really try to look for is people who are excited about what they do. They're passionate about it.
Yeah.
They're generally proactive and positive about challenges. So they don't consider problems a problem. They really see it as a challenge, and maybe even better, they see it as an opportunity to make a difference, to do something good, to improve the world or change something that needs to be improved. So that, and I observe that a lot during the Project Getaway, but also in Livid when we have people joining us, and really see what is people's attitudes towards the challenges that they face in day to day, and how do they deal with it. And I don't think it's a fixed thing. It's definitely something that people can learn and train. And I from my perspective, this is different for everyone, but I think it's something that everyone should really ask themselves when they see challenges and they sort of start getting annoyed by something. How do they react to that? What's their response, their mental response to that? And is it something that's empowering them to change something or to do something that can improve that problem, or are they just complaining about it? And the people who complain, complaining is fine. Complaining is fine, by the way. But complaining without a suggestion for improving something, that is a huge no-go for me. And I quite literally, there's very few things that I hate here in life, but people who complain and just complain, I really just, it's because it also demotivates me, and it's always like, come on, let's figure out a solution. And if it really is that bad,
exactly. So it's kind of like have you seen the movie Pirates of the Caribbean? With Jack Sparrow. So there's a line that is one of my favorite lines of the movie where he says, the problem is not the problem is your attitude about the problem. Right? Because it's all problems all the time, but it's kind of how you look at it and your perspective, of what you're learning from this, what is challenging you to kind of grow into, that's going to change the outcome of this problem. That becomes a blessing versus this kind of rock, right?
And if you go, and it's so important. So now Livid, for instance, we just hit 100 or past 100 people, and I'm really worried about ending up as a corporate. So because now we talk about it, and the last thing because I know how demotivating it can be. So how do you build a really cool organization where you can grow and still become a big global network of awesome people without having that corporate feel? And like you say, also freedom is incredibly important. And then working with like-minded people. So what we do a lot now is we have quite elaborate test systems, or personality test systems, where we really go in and work closely with people to help them understand how their culture or their personality might fit with the culture we're trying to build.
Right.
So that's super, super interesting. And then we really try and figure out what are those key indicators in these tests. And then it's a 1 hour full on test, and we do a 1 hour feedback session with people to to really, dive in, because these tests are not always right. They always
Right.
get something wrong. And,
Right.
and so what we do is then really interview people, make them try and explore how do they react, for instance, to these challenges, or what is their personal view on specific topics that stood out in these tests and so forth.
Yeah.
So anyway, I
So
could talk for hours about this.
So
but
even
really,
in a
really
corporation,
important.
I mean, Livid is obviously you and a lot of other people that create this big entity, right? You're not running it on your own, so you have staff and you've got leaders, right, that kind of run it for you.
We're all partners. That's really
you're all
what we call it.
partners.
No employees, no bosses, no nothing.
Right. And I
just
think
lots of
even as a solopreneur, right, even as a solopreneur without staff, I think people are craving still, this sort of support system of bouncing ideas off people, possibly outsourcing, right, parts of work that we can't do alone to people. So I love that idea of kind of putting through not just a personality test, but about a value system. Like, do you guys share a common value system? Do you guys share an approach to want to solve problems so that you won't kind of have this attitude issue, where you want to be with people that have this kind of inner insight of like, yeah, there's a problem, but I'm going to kind of I will do my best to figure out the best way and actually collaborate. So you kind of creating that sort of environment is obviously not just a 9-to-5 type of job. They're as you said, a partner to be able to contribute ideas. And I assume that this is kind of the style that you run your other Project Getaway. Right. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about how this idea came about, because I know when I read a bit about you on online, it was that you were kind of on your own journey after you quit your job in 2009. And in 2010, you kind of, I don't know if you did a sabbatical or you kind of started going, okay, what should I do next? What do I need as an entrepreneur? And from something that you found out, obviously, between that time, you developed this idea for Project Getaway, assuming that other people probably have this problem too, if I have it, right? What was it that you were finding out in that, when you kind of got away from corporate, kind of started to go into another path? What did you start to find out that you needed that as an entrepreneur that wasn't available to you?
And just to hit on this, the term corporate, I do think for some people the corporate world is the right thing, and if they find the passion in there, I think it's so there's per se nothing wrong with corporate. It's just more about figuring out. And there's many corporations that have really great values and really great culture. So what really struck me at that time when I was in a corporate world was that this lack of passion and this lack of vision from the people and the inspiration from the people I was working with, which I used to have as an entrepreneur. So I just thought, okay, I really want to travel. I really want to see the world. But I also know that if I go to a beach somewhere, I get restless after 5 minutes. I got to do something. And I go to the beach quite often, but I always bring my laptop, and I usually always end up working at the beach because I love my work so much and the impact that we have with it. So I thought, okay, well, I mean, there must be other people like me. I can't be the only one who feel this way. So I started looking online, trying to figure out, are not people, have someone solved this? And at that time, there was literally nothing. At least I never found anything. Now there's plenty of, which I think is really great. And I hope that Project Getaway has inspired a lot of these initiatives.
Totally.
Because that was really my goal at that time. Is like, I mean, there's so much opportunity in this type of setup. So I just thought it was a great idea. I had no clue whether others would think it because I couldn't find anyone online. And then I basically just ended up finding a really cool place in Bali and started running around to my network and other entrepreneurs or also people in corporate world that had the freedom to work remotely. And I would just show them these pictures of these amazing places in Bali. So like, why don't we go here and we have fun and we work together? And you work on your thing, I work on my thing, but we work together. We help each other out, and wouldn't that be cool? So that was the very basic idea, and overwhelmingly positive response, and people loved the idea, and so actually I ended up organizing that for that simple purpose of bringing really great people together, hopefully have lots of inspirational ideas come out of that, and possibly also business partnerships or long-time friendships, which really is happening. And my thinking there was that I love going to startup weekends. I would usually also always go to those events just for the inspiration again, really get the vibe out of it. And but I found that two days or 3 days for a weekend is not enough to really build up a long-lasting friendship with someone who you wanna go into a business with, because as you know, doing a business with someone is more committing than a marriage, really.
It's like, you're dating that person for a long time.
It really is, and it's, I mean, and it's dangerous to do that after just one weekend, right? Jump right into this thing.
Yes.
So I thought, why not? Well, if you live together for a month, at least maybe that's a better way. I mean,
Yes,
you get to know people a little more in depth and have a chance to really try and work together before you commit to like a lifelong adventure together. And yeah, that's worked out really well. And I've had many businesses come out of that. And
I
more
love,
importantly, I think,
I love that idea of Project Getaway, because I think there is, you know, because when people think of the word digital nomads or, you know, this whole 4-hour work week phenomenon, right? They're thinking of like, oh, right, these are like the coders or like the passive income guys that do affiliate marketing. And that's why they can go to the beach, you know, and kind of live off that sort of income. But then there's this other sort of person like you and I that are actually, we do kind of love our work, right? And we actually want to work, not lay at a beach all day, because that in time gets old. Right.
Yeah.
We will, even if
5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes. Like even people that I've ever interviewed that have lots of money and don't need to work anymore, they still go, I'm craving meaning. So they do philanthropy, right? Or they have projects that they now invest their money in to see that ripple effect. But a lot of us are still in this kind of stage of like, we do need to put work into kind of earning a living, and we can get smarter about it. But we still want to be in that zone of inspiration. We want to be continue to work on these things, but not to be like in a cubicle about it, or not to be stuck in one place. And as you said, you can go to the beach, get a half day of like swimming or diving or whatever, and then go back to your laptop and have that balance of work and living. And when I spoke at Project Getaway in Canggu, kind of in the middle of Canggu and Seminyak is where you are. I love the fact that, first of all, it was like really, really intelligent people. There were startups, but there were also people who were seasoned in business already that are craving collaboration. They're just craving to be with other people that share their crazy idea of life that is unconventional and untraditional. And then what I loved about it too is that it wasn't just like everyone works on their own thing. There are moments where you've planned out different days for where people get together and maybe help each other out, right, with their business ideas. You could get instructors or teachers that specialize in something that is a common interest. Like when they invited me to talk about how we can make your business mobile, you know, people kind of got value out of that. So it's not just kind of hanging out and partying, that sort of co-living environment. It really is this learning together, right? So kind of knowing what you know today about what's happened, right, to the future of work, because we are really living in times where, you know, our parents never got this opportunity, you know, to do it this way before. Do you find that there are some pros and cons about this whole thing of non-traditional living and working? Like, for example, the loneliness card, you know, the need for having office space to actually feel like you'll go to work, or, you know, and also what is the benefits of like a co-living type of structure like Project Getaway?
First of all, I gotta say you are really good at explaining Project Getaway. You're doing very well at that.
I can be your ambassador.
Really, yeah, exactly. No, really well explained. And I think so. So my way, always just briefly, of explaining Project Getaway is really that you gotta go, you gotta experience it, because it's really that it's very hard to explain how amazing the feeling is, especially when you're 2-3 weeks in and you have these like 20-30 amazing people whom you just bond with in a totally different way. And we have this concept of post-PG depression, which is when it ends, you get kind of like depressed. You're like, wow, that was such
like it's a
great
breakup.
experience.
It's a bit of a breakup.
Yeah, it's really like, And then now we're having this kind of post-PG depression coaching, where we sort of help people stay with the alumni. We help them stay connected. So no, it works really well. But yeah, so amazing experience, and you put it really, really well. And I mean, most of our almost every people who join come through referrals from others and recommendations from other people who've already attended, really, because they know how amazing that is. But to answer your question, so future of work, I love that topic, and I could really talk for hours about it. And I think the world is definitely going towards this very remote working setup, and with that comes a couple of new challenges that I think a lot of people are realizing now, and I have also been realizing and feeling myself for a couple of years. And one definitely is the loneliness, as you mentioned. It's it's really cool. Wow, I could travel around everywhere. I lived at Gili Islands, I don't know, next to Bali for several months, and yet it's really cool, but you get kind of lonely. You get like
a bit of cabin fever in that island.
It's me, my mango juice and my laptop. So after 2 months, you get a little, okay, it's not really talking to me, this mango juice. But so that's at least one challenge. And the other challenge that I feel is that just becoming an entrepreneur and and just traveling around, it doesn't solve the problem of lack of meaning. So you might start a startup and you feel like, okay, it's meaningful, I have my own business, but that's only going to last so long. At some point you realize, I'm just selling ads online, or I'm doing. It's not really that. It's not maybe something I want to do for the rest of my life. And what can I do to really make a difference in the world? And that's something I've realized, and really it made me stop up and think, okay, so when I choose to do a business, how do I actually how do I know if that's really something I'd be passionate about for many, many years to come? So that's another topic. And very briefly on that one, what I do now is literally I go in and I look at this sort of top 15, 30 problems in the world, and I look at those and it's like, what are the biggest challenges out there? And there are so many big problems that we as entrepreneurs can solve. I mean, it feels maybe like, wow, top 3 biggest problems in the world, but one of them is education, having great education for people all over the world, and I feel like we're doing amazing at that now in Livid, and others is access to science, which is another thing that we're doing, better communications, and those are actual problems that on a worldwide scale are big. So looking at those and trying to find companies that are actually meaningful in the long term that way, I think is one key thing. And in terms of solving the loneliness, the first point there, what I've tried to do, so Project Getaway is actually one attempt, I guess, to try and solve it by creating these events where you can then meet up with other like-minded people, and that works. And the question is, can you do it full time all year long? And that's really where the idea for Livid came up. And say, after the first Project Getaway, this is so amazing, and this post-PG depression kicked in. It's like, I gotta make this permanent. How do I do it? And so that's really where Livid came in, and Livid and Project Getaway really lives in sort of in some symbiosis, how to say that, work very closely together, and we take many of the concepts that we learn about in Livid, implement in Project Getaway, and likewise the other way. And so Livid is the attempt to really build an online global community of really passionate, awesome people who want to solve the world's biggest problems. And we try to create that infrastructure that can make that happen. So it's everything from how do you enable remote work? How do you make that effective? How do you use the right tools? And a lot of it, what we do is tech software, and we use tons of different online collaboration tools like Jira, Bamboo, continuous integration, and so forth. And once you start getting really good at these agile methods, that actually means that you can have really remote organizations that still are very effective at what they do. And then the second piece you want to try really and solve is, how do you create that meaning, and how do you make sure that everyone continuously have that meaning? And that comes back, I think, to, and this is something I'm still working a lot on, but it comes a lot back to having a really strong vision for what you're doing, and communicating it out in everything you do, and just repeating it every single day.
And having the right people, right? Having the right people support you in this vision. Because I think a lot of times when you start with an idea, it almost sounds like, especially when you think about what problem can I solve in the world? This is like the Gandhi effect, right? You're like, oh my God, I've got to think of something like Mother Teresa, or like, this like bigger than thou, right? Problem that I have to be a part of. And that is threatening to us lowly humans that are like, I can't do that,
Exactly. But we can. That's what I realized. We can, especially if we come together at events like Project Getaway, and you sort of start looking at these things like, guys, let's do something that really matters, and let's come together and work on that. Even though we might not make as much money as fast, but we'll surely have a life that's worth much more than we would if we did something individually just by ourselves. And that's really what I've seen, really realized.
I think, and that's where you hit the whole thing in the head. Is like, I think it's about realizing that you don't have to do it alone. And I think that's something that most people don't actually start thinking that that's possible. It's like, I have to have the whole weight of everything on my shoulders. And I'm not allowed to ask for help. I have to know everything. I have to be good at everything. And then we fail, right? As entrepreneurs, we get exhausted. We totally get a nervous breakdown after the first year. We go back to corporate again because we think that we have to prove ourselves again, right? By doing it ourselves. And that's why I love this concept of Project Getaway, because there's so many other people globally that will know something that you don't know. Right? That's going to be willing to introduce you and connect you to other people in their networks that can help you with your cause. And then together, even though you're the visionary of that main idea and you're the heart of it, it doesn't mean that you can't kind of enroll a tribe of people that also share these common values, and actually together you can make such a bigger dream. And I love that about that concept.
And I mean, quickly, and I think it's a really important part. I think many people who want to be first-time entrepreneurs try first and find an existing company or a culture or a tribe of people who are already doing, and learn from that. I mean, because you'll make so many mistakes that you will not have to do if you really collaborate with someone who's already doing. But just look for people and organizations that have a really great culture and values, as you said as well. Because I think that actually counters out this whole idea of corporate, because you don't have to be an independent entrepreneur to really have that amazing life. There are really great organizations out there that actually allows you the same level of freedom, the same level of purpose and passion and impact from day one. And I think it actually might be a better way to start looking for those, and then eventually maybe branch out and do your own thing. But I think I actually. So if you asked me a couple of years ago, I said everyone should be entrepreneurs. It's amazing. But I've also realized that being an entrepreneur is incredibly stressful.
Yes.
And you got to work really
more than you ever
hard.
worked in corporate.
Oh yeah, it is. It is really hard, and you got to be really good at what you do. In fact, you got to be the best if you really want to win the whole world. So I think that's quite high odds you're getting yourself up against, and it is really like 10% or so that succeed. So if you're willing to do that, do it. I think that's great. And if you really want to be entrepreneur, you should do it, because that might be your drive. But if what you want to do is do something meaningful and have impact and have freedom, then look for some organization who is already allowing you to have that, because they are out there. They're rare, but they are more and more. And I look at. I mean, you can look out for organizations that use holacracy or use Gung Ho is another great book, and really try to implement these ideas of building great cultures and organizations, because I think you will find what you're looking for there as well. Maybe.
And I'm glad that that's changing actually in the world, that corporations are kind of now meeting the needs of humans that need more than just a paycheck, right? They need to be contributing in a much bigger way. And I think it's great. I think it's great that is a new idea that's being put into the mix of work, and people aren't feeling like, actually, you know what, if I don't want to be an entrepreneur, does it mean that I'm going to live a life of hell, right? It doesn't need to be that way. So everything is kind of changing, and I'm glad you talked about that, because the future of work isn't just about entrepreneurs. I think entrepreneurs is a great, I mean, if you know you are and you know this is the thing you want to do, go for it, because it has amazing benefits of discovering who you are. I always say the first year of business is like 10 years of therapy. You really know who you are. But also, if that's not where you want to go, it doesn't actually mean that it's the end for you. It's about a different type of business or a different type of corporation that's going to support these necessary needs that you have. I want to ask you a question a little bit. Oh, sorry.
Can I quickly? I just ask that because I think that's exciting about the future of work. When we start having these co-working spaces all over the world, and they start adding this extra layer of connecting and building a shared culture among people all over the world in all these co-working spaces everywhere. That's really where I see it, because you start being able to just connect to different meanings and purposes and organizations. And you might have, let's say you have 100 different co-working spaces, and there could be different cultures living within those co-working spaces. And you just say, I'm gonna join these guys here. I have my own business, but all of these guys, we have shared values, shared missions. So that to me is really a future of work and a future of living, then combined with that, where you start living together is obviously what we're doing a lot with Fresh
you
Go
kind of set the tone in Bali, because I remember knowing about you guys, before I even came to Bali years ago, and going, wow, this exists, because I never even knew that co-living is a thing, or co-workation is even a word, right? And now all of a sudden it's kind of this trend, because one of my best friends in Bali is the guys that own Hubut, right? Like them and I work very, very closely together. Because I love, first of all, they're Canadian, so they're awesome. But secondly, it's like, I love the idea that they've built, as you said, this community is not just a co-working space. It's like they do something different, where they plan events, they plan almost like, different things like think tanks to get people to break apart your startup idea, right? Bali Bungkus, where they get an expert that's been doing something for a long time to teach people, right? As you said, education, things they don't teach you in school. right? They don't teach you about certain things that we learn about in entrepreneurship in school. You have to learn it from someone who has gone into the trenches, that's gotten dirty in the mud, and then can go, don't do this, and think of it like this instead. And so they're kind of curating this amazing environment to allow experts and teachers that have kind of carved the way to come back and help out who they were before, which is really meaningful in itself. And I think Project Getaway does that in its own little version in that 30 days as well, bringing in people that are willing to show the way and, you know, feel good about it, which is awesome.
Exactly. And I think that's really, I mean, creating that community where everyone shares with each other, because I think it's, we can all learn something from everyone. And I think having that's another important mindset to have. Whenever you meet anyone, however inexperienced or young they are at entrepreneurship, you can always learn something from them through what they've been through. And having that very open mindset. And when you connect with a lot of people, and that's what we really try and create in Project Getaways, we really encourage everyone to share anything, any ideas they have, and connect with each other around different topics, have interest groups or mini mastermind groups and so forth.
Very helpful.
And if you can build that way of working into your, you know, it doesn't have to just be when you're in Ubud or in Project Getaway or in a specific group, but if you think of that as a way of learning and learning fast as part of this future of work, I think that will be a trend we'll see a lot.
Yeah, totally expedite your learning, because you only know what you know, right? You can only consume what you've been kind of experiencing in your own education and your own work experience. But when you kind of have a group of people to learn from that all have different lives than you did, you're bound to learn something new. You know, you're bound to absorb some of that knowledge that you would have taken forever to learn, for example. And I love that about this concept. So before we kind of end this video, I did tell a couple people in groups that would love to kind of hear this interview about what question they may have for Michael. Now that we're talking about the future of work and Project Getaway. And I think a lot of people also knew that in the beginning, Project Getaway was kind of almost like a beta test for you, right? It's selfish. It was like, I want it to be somewhere by the beach. Can someone else join me and make sure I'm not lonely? It was a selfish interest that now became, this kind of amazing project. So one of the questions that Amy Lynn Engel from the group Digital Nomads Around the World wants me to ask you is, what was the first major step that you took to start your business? If you can remember, take a moment.
Yeah, I mean, so this is many years ago. So my first business, I was only 15 years old when I started that one. But what was the first step?
Maybe let's talk about specifically Live It and Project Getaway. What was, so when you at that moment when you had an idea and you're like, I think I want to do this, what was kind of your next big move to really open the door for yourself?
Yeah. So one of the things so I'm a very analytical person. I love analyzing and doing spreadsheets and all those kind of things. So what I did I built a really big spreadsheet, and this is just me being geeking totally out. And it's amazing. I still have it. And I would just jot down all the different ideas I had for things I wanted to do, and then I would put in, how would I rank these different things I could do? Am I passionate about it? Is it exciting? Does it have an impact? Is it hard to do? Do I have unique skills that I can apply to this specific field? Can I make money on it? Will it be sustainable in the long run? And I added all of these different parameters, and then would rank each of the parameters, figure out, okay, so how important is this versus that one? And so was passion really important in the beginning? And actually it wasn't, but I regret I didn't do that back then. I think passion today is super important for whatever you do, because that's what's going to keep you going beyond the 1-2 year hard work. So and then basically just I literally looked up industries and industry lists and just get as exhaustive a list as possible. It took like 1 or 2 weeks, and I would rank everything and then spread and then I had a list, and I just looked at it like, okay, well,
this is the lower, from the top. And I love that, because you're kind of looking and going, I'm not wasting any idea. I'm just kind of weighing the options. And I love that you talked about, feasibility, because I think sometimes this whole thing about passion is that people can get really caught up on passion, like, oh, I just only want to do this, and it doesn't monetize. And they waste their time and efforts and not want to think of a different approach, because passion is a feeling. It's not a thing per se, it's like how you infuse it into an idea, So I love that you talked about feasibility and obviously sustainability, because if you can't make money from it, you have a hobby. right? You've got a passion that you can love, but you're not going to make a living out of it. And it doesn't mean you give it up, but it isn't the thing that you want to call a business, right? And so you kind of have to do the weighing down. And then, you have to logically pick from the lowest hanging fruit. Which one can I do today based on what I'm equipped with to solve this problem? And I love that because I think,
really important.
Hugely important. And I love that you said that because even with Screw the Cubicle, when people come to me for ideas, because I'm the one that people come to build the first idea, and they'll come up with ideas that they can't do. It's just a good idea. Or Google AdWords told me is a good idea. Or, all the analyzing online told me is a good idea, which is great. But then there's a secondary piece. It's like, do you want to do that? Can you see yourself immersing in it? Having conversations about it, talking about it day and night, because you're gonna live and breathe it. If you can't see yourself doing that, it's just a profitable business, but you ain't gonna give that extra.
It's not gonna solve that. It's not gonna make you happy in the long run.
And you won't even be creative enough to solve that problem because you won't care.
No.
Right. And so I think there is something to be said about just caring about the thing, which is the movement, the cause, the why, the purpose behind that. And then knowing about, okay, what am I equipped with? Okay, I'm an analyzer. I can do spreadsheets. I can do all this stuff. And then going, how does this apply to the idea? Right. Because the idea can be approached. Right. And the problem can be solved in different ways. Right, but you're using what's Michael's special sauce to kind of solve it in your case.
And then an important piece. So once you have those ideas, let's say talk to experts like you, and this is what I do always at Project Getaway, for instance. I always have sessions with everyone. Right, they bounce ideas with me, and I challenge them, and so I'm good on tech. So when people have tech ideas, it's always like, please. Try me, I will try and shoot it down because this decision, you might go into something that will take several years of your life. I want to make sure you do the right thing, and then ask for as much feedback as you can, and get other people's perspective on it. Because like you said, many things.
And I think the one thing I would add to that is like beta test a portion of your idea, just like you did, right? You didn't go, I'm going to spend a ridiculous amount of investment, and Project Getaway is the thing. Like you tested it with people you knew. Right? A personal invite. You only had like an iPad and here's a photo. Like you didn't go and deposit your money into this huge royal palace first before you knew.
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I was a bit stupid back then. No, I rented that place for a whole month.
I see.
So there what I did is I burned the bridges. I was like, okay, now I gotta make it work.
Do it. You got fire on your ass.
Because I had to book it in advance, otherwise it would be booked out, right?
Right.
So that kind of put me a bit on fire.
Right,
so that was a motivator. So sometimes it can work that way, but I wouldn't recommend it. And in terms of sorry, go ahead.
Well, I mean, it was still kind of in a form of beta test because you were like, you kind of went with your inner circle first, right? You tested it with people you kind of already knew that may suffer from the same pain, and then go, give it a shot. And then from that, you kind of realized, okay, after that ended, you now knew what you had to build for the masses. Right, from this little
super important. I have so many great stories. So I made many companies by now, and then a lot of them fail, but fail luckily fast. So this idea of failing fast, and I have one story I love is we want to build this huge new project for reinventing the renewable energy space, and wanted to do apps for that, and special apps for the industry. And what we did is we spent maybe $10,000 in total. We built like a full product line, and we had everything, and we went out to these big corporations and we presented it, and it looked really, really good. And with professional videos and everything. Only they didn't actually know that we never had a product. We had never had anything at all. We just had an idea, and we had some fancy videos, and we had a PowerPoint slide on an app on an iPad that looked like an app. So as you would click around on it, it kind of looked like we were having it, and we were selling it that way. And anyways, we didn't sell it, and it didn't work out. At least not yet. We're actually still on it. But so that was a great story of how you can test. Really cheaply, a very complex idea, and obviously you can test also very small with just $100. So Lean Startup, great book. There's minimum viable products. There's tons of books on it.
So where can people find you when they're looking for projects that they want to be a part of that you're running? So Project Getaway being one, but also to find out more about what you're involved in with Live It. Where would they find you online?
So for Project Getaway, definitely check out our website. We've got a lot of really exciting things coming up this year. More events all over the world, and not just Bali. And so check that out, and drop Lavinia a mail from Project Getaway. She's running it all there, doing incredibly well. And so Lavinia at projectgetaway.com or .net. And for Live It and all my startups, check out liv.it. Drop me an email, Michael at liv.it. I'm very busy, but I try to always reply to my emails. So So please just drop me a mail, and I'll be happy to help out and reply.
Awesome.
Let's see if I get a storm of emails now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And also,
please do, and yeah.
And you're always very generous with your time. So let's hope. No, don't bombard Michael with too many questions, but you can ask him questions.
Good questions is great.
Good questions
I
great.
love it.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll put out your links as well on top of the video, so people can click through and get to your websites on Project Getaway and Live It. Thank you so much for joining me all the way from Zurich. And next time, I think when you come to Bali, we'll probably have to do it live. I think we're going to have to meet in person.
We should totally do it. No, I'm totally up for it. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
some
awesome.
Good mango juices.
That's right.
Sitting in the pool. I think we got to do that.
Of course, after the monsoon weather, so come back in about March, April would be good.
I'll be there in March actually. So
okay, good. I'll still be here. Yeah, I'll see you then.
Perfect.
Thanks,
Super.
Michael.
Thanks
see you
so
later.
much. Yeah, see you later. Bye.
Bye. Hey, thank you so very much for watching Screw the Cubicle TV, and don't forget to subscribe below to get all the latest cubicle crashing content on how to quit your 9-to-5 and create a life and business on your own terms.